The year was 2245, and humanity had expanded its reach across the cosmos, establishing colonies on distant planets. However, peace was fleeting. The Galactic Federation, a coalition of alien civilizations, viewed this expansion as a threat. Among their ranks stood Zyra, a skilled warrior of the Velicana. Engineered for combat and dominance, she had never questioned her purpose. Zyra's sleek, silver armor shimmered as she controlled her ship's descent toward Earth. The verdant landscape of forests and sprawling cities emerged beneath her vessel, a stark contrast to the desolate worlds she had encountered. "Target acquired," she murmured, feeling the familiar thrill of the hunt. She landed in a secluded area, her ship cloaked by advanced technology. Zyra adjusted her weapons and prepared for her mission. However, she was interrupted by the sudden appearance of a human. "Hold it right there," shouted Kieran, a tall man with disheveled brown hair, standing firmly despite the alien presence. He pointed a non-lethal weapon, a stun baton, armed with the latest human technology. Panic rushed through him, but he masked it with bravado. Zyra assessed the situation, her instincts flaring. "You wish to challenge me, human?" she responded, her voice a low rumble. "Challenge? Ha! I'm just here to negotiate," Kieran shot back defiantly. "You can't destroy what you don't understand." "Negotiate?" Zyra raised an eyebrow, intrigued despite herself. "What makes you think your kind can offer anything of value? More than you think. You might be a warrior, but we've got something stronger. Reason." Kieran took a cautious step closer. "I'll show you." "Show me, then," she replied, the subtle challenge in her tone. "Let's start with your ship. I doubt you'd risk showing it to me. Let's talk here instead." Kieran lowered his weapon, sensing a flicker of curiosity in her. "Very well." Zyra stepped forward, hoping to understand this strange human. The tension in the air shifted, an unspoken truce forming between them. "Talk. First, you should tell me your name." "I'm Kieran," he offered, genuinely curious. "Zyra," she replied flatly. "And why should I trust you?" "Trust is built, not given. Let me share a story." Kieran began recounting tales of humanity. He spoke of the struggles they faced in their early days, wars that almost brought about their extinction, but ultimately led to unity among diverse cultures. With each story, Zyra found her defenses faltering. "Why do you fight?" she finally asked. "Because we want a future. We want to build, not destroy." "Build?" Zyra laughed softly. "You seem naive. Naivete can lead to hope. At least, that's what I've been told." He shot back with a wry smile. Zyra felt something stir within her. Was it amusement? Humanity is often described as chaotic. Chaos makes us strong. We adapt, we change. We strive for peace even after conflict, he argued, his voice strong, unwavering. "Can't you see that?" "This planet is primitive," she scoffed, though her intrigue was palpable. "Your technologies are limited." "Limited, yes, but we innovate. Every challenge we face only encourages us to be better. We learn from our mistakes. Just like your kind, I'd imagine." Zyra narrowed her eyes. "You know little of the Velicana if you think we seek improvement." Kieran stepped closer, undeterred. "I think I might know more than you let on. What if I told you that you may not be so different from us? And that's supposed to convince me?" she challenged, though a part of her was genuinely intrigued. Kieran hesitated but pressed on. "What drives you, Zyra? Is it truly the conquest, or is there something more?" She stiffened, guarding her thoughts. "I was created for war." "Created, yes, but are you just a weapon?" Zyra paused, processing his words. I fulfill my purpose. What else is there?" Kieran's gaze softened. "What if you could redefine that purpose? What if you could choose?" "Choose?" Her voice held disbelief. "Why not?" "I chose to stand here, to find common ground rather than engaging in futility," he said. "You have the same power, Zyra." "You know nothing of my world," she snapped. "Perhaps not, but I see a person standing before me. A warrior, but also someone who can desire more." Zyra felt heat rising in her chest. "Desire? You presume too much," she countered, though a part of her, a small, vulnerable part, quivered with curiosity. "Do you not desire to find meaning beyond conquest?" To show what it means to be Velikana, not just a soldier. Kieran took another step closer. The air between them crackled with tension and she found herself holding her breath. Why does this matter to you? Because isolation isn't strength. It's a prison, Kieran replied, his tone earnest. You're a warrior, and that means you understand sacrifice. But what if your greatest strength is your ability to change? Zyra narrowed her eyes, considering. Your words are intriguing, but I must return to my people. I cannot abandon my mission. Yet here you stand, he said, nodding toward the ground beneath their feet, the gentle rustle of leaves providing a backdrop. What if I helped you understand what it means to coexist? Why would you help me? She pressed, her heart racing. Because I believe in the power of choice. Just like you standing here with me having a conversation instead of a fight, Kieran answered simply. Zyra searched his face, contemplating the unfamiliar and thrilling notion of connection. You humans are peculiar, she admitted. And you are destined for greatness, Zyra. But perhaps it's time you redefine what that greatness looks like. As silence enveloped them, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow around them. For the first time, Zyra felt the weight of expectation lift from her shoulders. In Kieran's presence, she was not merely a weapon, she was vibrant and complex, and maybe, just maybe, there was more to her life than conquest. Chapter 2, First Encounters. The following day, Kieran found himself walking through a small human settlement, brimming with life and energy different from the desolate planets Zyra was used to. The bustling atmosphere was filled with laughter, conversation, and the rich sense of food being prepared. He was determined to show her what humanity had to offer, not as a soldier, but as part of a community. Zyra stepped out of the forest, her silver armor gleaming in the soft morning light. Kieran had asked her to meet him at the edge of town, and as she approached, the townsfolk stopped to stare, their curiosity illuminated in their eyes. Wow, you really draw attention, don't you? Kieran joked, trying to lighten the mood. Zyra scanned the crowd with a mix of annoyance and curiosity. Do you often bring aliens into your settlements? Only the ones who might save the world, he chuckled. Come on. I want to show you something. He led her down the main street, weaving through vendors selling fresh produce and handmade crafts. Kieran pointed out different stalls. Over there is the bakery. The smell is incredible, isn't it? I do not require food, Zyra replied, unimpressed. I am a Velikana. Okay, but would you like to try bread? It's something we humans really enjoy, he said, his eyes sparkling. Just indulge me on this one. Zyra frowned slightly but relented. Fine. Show me this bread. They approached the bakery, the aroma enveloping them as they entered. The baker, an old woman with flour-rusted hands, beamed at Kieran. Back again, are we? Who's the lovely lady? This is Zyra, a friend, he introduced her, gesturing with pride. She's visiting from another planet. Zyra observed the baker keenly, noting the warm smile and the kind twinkle in her eye. From another planet? Sounds exciting. The baker handed Kieran a warm loaf, steam rising from it. Try it with some of our honey butter. It's a local favorite. Kieran nodded gratefully and took a piece of the bread, tearing it off with his fingers. Here, Zyra, he offered, holding it out. Is this safe? She asked, looking at the bread suspiciously. Safe? Yes. Completely safe. Trust me, Kieran reassured her, flashing his charming smile. Tentatively, Zyra accepted the piece, taking a cautious bite. The flavor burst in her mouth, a blend of sweetness and warmth. It is enjoyable, she admitted, her voice betraying a hint of surprise. Kieran grinned. See? You're already adapting. As they exited the bakery, Zyra felt a strange sense of belonging among these humans. What else do you eat? Let's go to the market, Kieran suggested, leading her to a bustling area filled with colorful fruits and vegetables. Why do you gather food when you have technology to produce it? She inquired, genuinely confused. Kieran paused, gathering his thoughts. We gather food for the experience, for a community. It connects us to each other and our land. It's more than just sustenance. Zyra wrinkled her nose, processing his explanation. You place value on experiences? Absolutely. Life is filled with experiences that shape us. Like this. He plucked a bright red apple from a stall. Here, try this one. She took the apple hesitantly, examining it closer before biting down. It is crisp, she remarked. Kieran laughed, clearly enjoying her reactions. You're getting the hang of this. How about we share a meal now? I want you to actually see how we come together over food. Zyra's initial reluctance began to fade. Very well, Kieran. What do you suggest? There's a small park nearby. They often have picnic areas. Let's grab some food and go there, he proposed, a sense of excitement evident in his voice. Minutes later, they found a comfortable spot under a tree in a sunny park. Kieran laid out a simple but delicious spread, bread, apple slices, cheese, and some roasted vegetables. You're very prepared, Zyra noted, examining the spread. Always plan ahead. What's the point of an adventure if you don't have good food? He beamed. They started eating, Kieran asking about her life on Velicana. What's it like? Is it all battles and war? Not all. We have culture and art, but our primary purpose is combat. We are trained to conquer, she explained, surprising herself with the sense of vulnerability she felt saying it aloud. Is that all you want? Kieran asked, his eyes probing. Zyra hesitated. It is my purpose, she trailed off, searching for the right words. I'm built for strength, for fighting. I am Velicana. But what do you want, Zyra? Kieran pressed gently, his voice encouraging. If you could choose, what would you do? I have never had the luxury of choice, she admitted, feeling exposed. That's different from what we experience. We care about choices big and small. It gives our lives flavor, if that makes sense, he said, munching on a slice of cheese. What if I made the wrong choice? Zyra challenged. A choice could lead to destruction. Kieran shook his head. Mistakes are part of choosing. In fact, we learn from errors, adapt, and grow. Zyra pondered over his words, the idea of mistakes not weighing her down as she had believed. What if I make a mistake fighting alongside you? Could my freedom mean destruction? It can, but it doesn't have to. The past doesn't dictate the future. Look at us sitting here. How could either of us have predicted this? He gestured between them with an open hand. You are not just a warrior. You can be more. Zyra looked deep into Kieran's eyes, feeling a flicker of hope but countered, I must return to my kind. Only if you choose to, he replied softly. Just remember, the choice is yours. As they finished their meal, the conversation meandered into lighter topics filled with laughter. Kieran told her about human traditions, sharing stories about some of his most embarrassing moments, while Zyra revealed amusing tales of training gone awry. Your stories are entertaining, she admitted, a light glimmering in her eyes. Kieran smiled. You know, I'm pretty entertaining myself. Just wait till you meet my friends. They can't wait to meet you. Friends? More humans? Zyra asked, looking intrigued yet skeptical. Yep, the more the merrier. They'll love you. And who knows? They might pick your brain about being an alien warrior, he said with a laugh. You truly think they will accept me? Zyra asked thoughtfully. Why not? Everyone deserves a chance. And I'll be there to introduce you, Kieran assured her. As the sun dipped low in the sky, painting the horizon in hues of orange and purple, Zyra felt a small sense of belonging blooming inside her. Perhaps this human, with his silly stories and earnest heart, was right. Perhaps there was a world beyond conquest. With a soft exhale, Zyra glanced around the park, feeling warmth spread through her, a sensation she'd never known. Maybe I could choose more than destruction. Kieran's face lit up. That's the spirit. Let's explore this together. You are more than a warrior, Zyra. You can be a friend, too. With a newfound clarity, Zyra smiled, realizing that perhaps her greatest battle was just beginning, a fight for her own future alongside Kieran in a world of possibilities. Chapter 3, Breaking Barriers. The next day, Zyra found herself pacing in a clearing near the outskirts of Kieran's town, battling the myriad of emotions churning within her. Yesterday's picnic had sparked new thoughts about her identity, but uncertainty lingered. She had never questioned her purpose, and now it felt like she was walking a tightrope between two worlds. Just as the sun began to rise, Kieran appeared, jogging toward her with a bright smile, his breath visible in the crisp morning air. Hey, Zyra. You look deep in thought. I have been contemplating, she replied, her voice steady but tinged with hesitation. Well, what's on your mind? Kieran slowed to a walk, concern flickering across his features. Your kind talks of choices and experience. Are they truly significant? She asked, searching his eyes for affirmation. More than you know. Our choices shape who we are, he explained as they strolled through the clearing. Tell me, what do you want? Zyra paused, surprising herself by how challenging it was to articulate those desires. I want to understand what a life without combat feels like. Kieran nodded appreciatively. That's a great start. How about we try something new today? Something outside your normal routine. Such as, she asked, intrigued. Let's visit the community center. They're hosting a cultural exchange event. It's a chance for everyone to showcase their talents and learn about different backgrounds. Cultural exchange? Zyra echoed, a hint of skepticism in her tone. What will humans showcase? More tales of their struggles? Hey now, we're complex beings, Kieran smiled playfully. There's art, music, and food. But more importantly, it's about connection. I think you'll really enjoy it. Very well, but I cannot promise I will fit in, she replied, a hint of worry creeping into her voice. You don't have to fit in. Just be yourself. Let's go, Kieran encouraged, taking her hand and leading her toward the community center. Arriving, they were greeted by a colorful banner that read Cultural Exchange Day. Lively music floated through the air, and tables were adorned with artwork, crafts, and an array of international cuisine. Wow, Zyra murmured, her eyes scanning the scene in awe. This is vibrant. See? I told you. Come on, let's meet some people. Kieran tugged her into the crowd, his energy infectious. They approached a table where a woman with long, curly hair was painting. She glanced up and smiled. Hello? Are you a visitor? Yes, I am Zyra, she replied, her voice steady. I'm Mia. Nice to meet you. I'm showcasing some traditional human painting techniques, Mia said, gesturing to her canvas. Do you make these for battle? Zyra asked innocently, her serious tone drawing a laugh from Mia. Not quite. These are more about expressing feelings and ideas. Want to try, she offered. Kieran encouraged her, go for it, Zyra. It could be fun. Zyra hesitated but eventually accepted a brush. She swirled paint across the canvas, the colors blending in a way that felt oddly liberating. You have talent. It's beautiful, Mia exclaimed, genuinely impressed. I am merely experimenting, Zyra replied, a hint of a smile forming on her lips. Experimentation is how we grow, Kieran said, standing behind her, watching with pride. Look at that stroke. As they moved from one booth to another, Kieran introduced her to a variety of people, musicians, dancers, and chefs, all keen to share their crafts. The atmosphere buzzed with laughter, stories, and a sense of unity. Zyra found herself engaged, laughing and sharing her own tales of Velikana, albeit altered for humor's sake. Wait, so your people conjugate action commands as a form of humor? Kieran laughed, clearly entertained. That's too good. Yes. We find amusement in odd places, she added, her confidence bolstered by his enthusiasm. They approached a stall filled with delicious-smelling food. The cook, a stocky man with a friendly grin, waved them over. Hey, come try some of my famous chili. Kieran stepped forward, excitement evident. I've been waiting all day for this. Zyra, do you trust this human's taste? The cook asked jestingly. More than I trust my own, she replied, smirking. The cook handed her a small bowl. Just a taste. Let me know what you think. Zyra took a careful sip, the flavors exploding in her mouth. This is remarkable, she said, surprised. Right? I knew you'd love it. This is what I'm talking about. Sharing experiences, bringing flavors together, Kieran added enthusiastically. As they continued mingling, Zyra felt herself becoming more at ease. Each conversation added another layer to her understanding of humanity. Zyra, over here, Kieran called, motioning her over to a stage. What is happening? She inquired, watching as people began to gather. It's the talent showcase. Anyone can perform. I think you should give it a shot. Zyra shook her head. No, I do not perform. Come on. Just share something from your world. You have stories, right? Or even a Velikana tradition. Kieran urged, his eyes brimming with excitement. Do I have a choice? She replied, only half joking. Of course. But I know they'd love to hear about you, he encouraged. Taking a deep breath, Zyra stepped onto the stage, heart racing. She glanced back at Kieran, who offered an approving nod, grounding her resolve. Greetings, humans, she began, her voice steady despite the flutter of nerves. I am Zyra of the Velikana. The crowd murmured, intrigued. In my culture, we share tales of our ancestors and their battles. Each story holds a lesson. She paused, searching for the right one. For example, there was one story of a warrior who chose to protect rather than conquer, a choice that brought peace to her clan. Kieran watched, spellbound. That's fantastic, he whispered under his breath. Zyra continued, detailing the story with passion. As she spoke, she noticed the rapt attention of the audience, a warm energy surrounding her. When she finished, the applause erupted, and Kieran cheered the loudest. Encouraged by their response, Zyra even managed a small bow. You see, Kieran said, excitedly meeting her as she ste. G thinner. Zyra felt a rush not of adrenaline but of genuine shared joy. In the twilight of that vibrant day, she realized how vastly different her life could become, how her story could intertwine with his. Thank you for today, Kieran. I had a gratifying experience, she admitted as they walked back. Gratifying, huh? That's a big word coming from a warrior, he teased. I am more than a warrior, Kieran. I can be more, just as you said, she replied, her heart swelling with newfound confidence. As they reached the edge of the community center, she knew she was breaking free from the constraints of her past. With Kieran beside her, the possibilities felt endless. Chapter 4, The Choice. As the weeks passed, Zyra and Kieran grew closer, their bond strengthening through shared experiences. With each passing day, Zyra learned more about humanity, its quirks, laughter, and, most importantly, the value of choice. However, a shadow loomed over their newfound connection. One afternoon, as they strolled through a tranquil park, Kieran noticed her gaze drifting toward the horizon. "What's on your mind?" he asked, sensing her distraction. "It is my people," Zyra admitted, keeping her eyes fixed on the sunset. "They will not understand me choosing another path. They have only known me as a warrior." "What do you mean?" Kieran inquired, his brow furrowed in concern. "Can't they see that you are evolving?" "Evolving?" she echoed, turning to him. "You do not understand. My identity is tied to the Velikana way. They will not accept any deviations." Kieran paused, considering his words carefully. "What if they could see you like I do? As more than a soldier?" Zyra shook her head slowly. "It is not that simple. This choice could mean betrayal, not just for me, but for my entire kind." He stepped closer, his voice firm yet gentle. "Zyra, you have the power to change that narrative. What if you showed them who you really are? Not just a warrior, but a friend and ally to humanity. What if they do not wish to see?" she challenged, her emotions bubbling beneath the surface. "What if my choices lead to my downfall?" "We can face that together," Kieran said, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Let's go back to Velikana. I'll stand by you. Show them what we've built, show them you've changed. Your presence could put you in danger," Zyra warned, frowning at the thought. "They may see you as a threat." "Maybe. But I believe in what you represent, Zyra. Plus, they'll have to get through me if they want to challenge you," he said with a hint of humor, attempting to lighten the mood. Zyra couldn't help but smile at his bravado, but the uncertainty lingered. "It is a far-off dream. I fear that I am still bound to my purpose." "Only if you let it bind you," he replied, a determined glint in his eyes. "You've already taken steps to redefine who you are. The rest will follow." That night, Zyra lay in her quarters aboard her ship, staring at the metallic walls, contemplating Kieran's words. Could she find the strength to challenge the expectations of her people? Would they accept her choice? As dawn broke, Kieran was waiting outside her ship, his expression a mixture of excitement and concern. "I'm ready whenever you are," he said, looking hopeful. Zyra stepped out, her heart racing. "I have decided to return to Velikana," she stated firmly. "Really?" Kieran's face lit up. "That's great. So, when do we leave?" "In 3 days," she replied, her expression calm but resolute. "I must alert my people of our arrival." 3 days? "Why wait?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. "I must prepare myself. It is not just a matter of showing up," she explained. "I need to gather my strength." Kieran nodded, respecting her decision. "Fair enough. I'll help you. Whatever you need, just say the word." Over the next few days, Zyra trained rigorously, honing her combat skills while also spending time with Kieran. They practiced together, sparring in the early hours. Each clash of their weapons was filled with a mixture of tension and camaraderie. One afternoon, after an intense training session, Kieran plopped down beside her, breathless but smiling. "You've gotten even better. You're going to impress them." Zyra wiped sweat from her brow. "I don't know if impress is the right word. I need them to understand who I have become." "Exactly. You're showcasing your growth. But more than that, you're revealing the strength and vulnerability," Kieran replied, his tone earnest. "Vulnerability feels like weakness," Zyra countered. "Sometimes it's the strongest thing we can be." "It takes guts to show who you really are," he challenged, brushing off her skepticism. Their training turned into warm laughter, and after a moment, Kieran asked, "What customs do Velikana have for a return?" Zyra paused, thinking. "There are formalities, a ceremonial greeting for returning warriors, but things may have changed since I left. Let's ensure you have a grand entrance. Maybe a asterisk, welcome back, hero." Asterisk banner, Kieran joked, eliciting a laugh from her. Zyra's mood lightened. "Your humor will not save me when I arrive. I need to present a clear message. I believe in you, Zyra. Just stay true to yourself. It worked for us here, it'll work there," he reassured her, his tone sincere. On the morning of their departure, nerves coursed through Zyra. She felt the vessel hum as Kieran joined her at the control panel. "You ready for this?" he asked, looking at her with concern. "Yes," she replied, though uncertainty lingered in her voice. "I must be." Utilizing advanced technology, Zyra navigated the ship back to Velikana. The familiar sights of her homeworld emerged through the viewport, its deep purple skies and rugged terrains greeting her like an old friend. But heavy apprehension filled her as they landed. As they stepped off the ship, Zyra felt a weight on her shoulders. A group of Velikana warriors approached, their armor glinting ominously in the light. One of them stepped forward, Thorin, a childhood friend and a fearsome commander. Zyra, you dare return after abandoning your post? Kieran tensed beside her but remained silent, ready to support her. I have returned to talk, Thorin. I did not abandon anything, Zyra replied, her voice strong despite the fluttering in her chest. Talk? With a human? He scoffed, eyeing Kieran with disdain. Have you forgotten our purpose? This human represents a new chapter, Zyra insisted, feeling the fire within her stir. I am here to show you my journey. More warriors emerged, their expressions shifting between skepticism and curiosity. Thorin stood firm. What journey could you possibly have that warrants this decision? I found that there is strength beyond battle, she proclaimed, searching the faces of her people. She could feel Kieran's supportive presence beside her. Strength in friends, in choices, and the will to fight for peace. Thorin's eyes narrowed. You think transforming into a soft-hearted warrior will earn respect? This is not about softness. It is about understanding, Zyra countered, her voice raised slightly, emboldened. I have learned that connection is just as powerful as combat. It opens doors to possibilities you have yet to explore. Possibilities? With humans? Thorin sneered. They are more than you think, Kieran finally chimed in, stepping forward. Zyra and I have battled our demons together. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Thorin's expression hardened as he processed the situation. Choose carefully, Zyra. If you side with this human, you risk losing everything. We will stand together, Zyra answered, glancing at Kieran. I choose this path, and I choose to stand beside him. Foolish, Thorin spat, the disdain in his voice palpable. Perhaps, she said calmly. But I have chosen my identity. Perhaps it is time for the Velikana to consider another way. There was a charged silence. Zyra's heart pounded in her chest, the moment suspended. She felt Kieran's hand lightly squeeze her shoulder, offering silent support. Will you accept this change? Zyra demanded, meeting the gaze of the assembly. Or will you dismiss growth out of fear? One of the other warriors broke the tension by stepping forward. Perhaps it is time to listen. Their leader's opinion held weight, and slowly, curious murmurs spread through the group. As Zyra held her ground, she felt the strength of her decisions intertwine with Kieran's unwavering presence, ready to confront whatever came next. Chapter 5, A New Dawn. The tension in the air was palpable as the Velikana warriors processed Zyra's bold declaration. She stood at the forefront, heart pounding, as Kieran positioned himself slightly behind her, ready to back her up no matter their response. What do you know of this human? Thorin growled, eyeing Kieran with contempt. More than you might think, Zyra replied, her voice steady despite the churning emotions within. Kieran has shown me that there are ways to thrive outside of combat. There is strength in companionship. Companionship? Thorin scoffed, shaking his head. You speak of sentimentality. That has no place in Velikana culture. Maybe it should, Kieran asserted, stepping forward. I'm not here to change your way of life, but I believe that understanding can lead to a stronger existence. We all want the same thing, peace and prosperity. Peace? Thorin echoed incredulously. What do humans know of peace? Your history is riddled with conflict. We've learned from it, Kieran replied, his voice rising in passion. That's the difference. We've learned that fighting doesn't always lead to victory, it often leads to loss. What we have discovered is the value of connection and dialogue, and that's exactly why we are here. Zyra glanced at Kieran with admiration, feeling emboldened by his words. She turned to the crowd of warriors. Kieran represents a new approach, one where we don't simply prepare for battle but consider alternatives. Alternatives? Thorin challenged, his expression hardening. And what happens when your so-called peace is threatened? Will you turn into cowards? It takes courage to venture outside of rigid traditions, Kieran said, his voice calm yet firm. Staying confined to your fears is a kind of cowardice too. Zyra clenched her fists, feeling a spark of anger and pride surge through her. I am both a Velikana and a friend to Kieran. This choice doesn't erase my past, it enhances my identity. We are evolving. More murmurs rippled through the gathering, some warriors looking at one another, contemplating her words. Kieran seized the moment. Let's consider this. If you banish Zyra for her choices, you're losing a valuable warrior. Her growth benefits all of us. Growth? Thorin sneered. What growth comes from collaboration with a human? Performance, skills, wisdom, these are all part of it, Kieran replied as he pointed toward the horizon. You see those mountains? We could be thriving in trade, knowledge, and culture. Why settle for a future steeped in conflict? Zyra searched the faces of her kin, sensing their trepidation but also a flicker of intrigue. One warrior in the back spoke up. What kinds of things have you traded? Everything, Kieran answered quickly, his enthusiasm brimming. Food, technology, art. We've exchanged knowledge and figured out how to learn from one another's experiences. What kind of technology? Another warrior questioned skeptically. Communication devices, medical advancements, even energy sources, Kieran replied. Imagine a world where your people thrive not from conflict but through collaboration. Imagine learning to combat diseases together, sharing techniques to enhance farming, or even exploring new territories. Thorin raised a hand to silence the crowd, tension thick in the air. You think sharing resources will quell our desires for conquest? Sometimes it's not about winning battles but winning hearts, Kieran said, his tone earnest. Your people are strong, but strength can manifest in many forms. Valor isn't just about force, it's also about understanding and compassion. Zyra stepped forward, her heart racing. This isn't just Kieran's vision, it's my vision as well. We have the opportunity to redefine what it means to be Velikana. Silence fell as warriors exchanged glances, doubt and curiosity mingling in the atmosphere. Thorin appeared conflicted, folding his arms in thought. You speak a lot about ideals. But ideals often fade under the pressure of reality. Then let's face that reality together, Kieran challenged, frustration creeping into his voice. People can change, and it starts with a single decision. Your decision. What do you propose, human? Thorin asked, his challenging demeanor softening ever so slightly. I propose an exchange, Kieran said, his expression brightening. Invite people from your leadership to meet with humans. Show them the value of collaboration. Let's create a council where both our peoples can share ideas, traditions, and strategies. And what if it fails? Another warrior chimed in, skeptical. It won't if we approach it with an open mind, Kieran insisted. If both sides are willing to learn, we can achieve something remarkable. You have nothing to lose and so much to gain. Your boldness is commendable, Thorin replied, still wary. But you need to understand changing traditions isn't easy. I understand that better than you think, Kieran countered. Trust doesn't come overnight. But it starts with conversations just like this one. Zyra felt a surge of hope as a flicker of understanding began to dawn on the faces around her. We can choose to evolve rather than remain stagnant, she said, her confidence growing. This choice will not make us weaker, it will strengthen our community. Thorin remained silent, weighing his options. You ask for a lot of faith, Kieran. Faith in both you and my companion here. Faith is just another word for trust, Kieran said. Trust takes time, but it can be built. The crowd stood still as they contemplated the proposal. Finally, Thorin paced forward, his features softening. I will consider this. But any sign of treason, and I will not hesitate to act. I wouldn't expect anything less, Kieran replied, a hint of a smile flickering on his lips. Zyra felt a wave of relief wash over her, though Thorin's words still held weight. Their journey was still just beginning, but for the first time, hope flickered on the horizon. As the warriors began to disperse, Kieran turned to Zyra, excitement glowing in his eyes. Did you see that? They're considering it. Yes, they are, she answered, a smile creeping across her face. But I cannot forget how difficult this journey will be. We'll tackle it together, he promised, his tone sincere. This is just the beginning. Zyra nodded, feeling a mix of anticipation and trepidation. Perhaps they could forge a new path, one where Velikana could find strength without yielding to their old ways. As they walked back towards her ship, she realized that light had found a way to shine into her life, shining through the cracks of uncertainty and doubt. Together, they could create a future built on shared understanding and new beginnings. And thus, as they prepared to forge ahead, Zyra felt a sense of purpose swell within her, a purpose not rooted in conflict but in building a bridge between worlds.